Okay, well, a few things that I wanted to share with you. Let me just connect a better microphone better. Um, so there are a few things that I wanted to cover, and then we'll hopefully have some time for questions and answers. Before we get to the exam, let me talk a little bit about Xculture. So as you know, we started in the teams, and my understanding is that by now you all have been placed on teams. I think we still have 2 or 3 students who have not passed the readiness test, and as a result have not been placed on teams yet. But again, problem there. So as long as you pass the readiness test in the next several days, we can still add you to the team. And so those of you who are not on teams yet, I got an email a couple of days ago from a student who didn't know what needs to be done. So all you have to do is this. You go to your email account, you look for the email from admin@xculture.org. That email contains 2 links. One link is to the project materials. So it's like a web page where you have all kinds of resources that you need to use for the project. The second link is the link to your readiness test. And so all you have to do is just review those materials. I don't know, maybe it will take you half an hour, and then start the test. And again, if you know the answers, it shouldn't take you more than half an hour. If you're kind of going through the materials and answering the test at the same time, which is a perfectly viable and logical way to do it, it may take a little longer. So you see the question, you look for the answer, you answer, you move on. So let's say it takes you an hour, maybe a little bit longer if you're kind of slowly moving through this. But once you've done it, we will see that you have completed the readiness test. And so we will place you on a team. If you do it today, we will place you on a team today. If you do it tomorrow or later, it may be a few more days because we form teams like every 4 days or so. And so the reason I'm so strict with that readiness test, and that concerns also those who are on teams already, nobody wants to have a team member who is not sure what's going on, who is not diligent, disciplined, dedicated enough. And so we have made that rule a long time ago, and it drastically improved quality of work and satisfaction of the students. Before that, we would place students on teams once we get their names. And as you can imagine, some students just, don't care. Some students may not be fluent enough in English. Some students may not be organized enough. Some students may be completely lost and don't know what's going on. And so you place them on teams, and then, the good team members, have to deal with that. So now we have that kind of additional selection hurdle, both to prepare you, but also to make sure that those who are not ready are not placed on teams. So this week, all you have to do is just basically get to know each other. And then next week, so I guess by now you have contacted each other and you're communicating. And then your next deadline will be a week from now, basically Sunday, a little bit less than a week. And all you have to do at this time is select your client company. Importantly, you can change your client company anytime. So if today you decided to work, for example, on Hiplantro or, I don't know, Mary's Poop, but tomorrow you decide to switch to something else, you can. You don't need to let me know. The only thing that you have to do is when you will be completing the next weekly review survey, there will be a question there, what company you are working on, and you just indicate there what company you're working on. So this way I will know, and that's all we have to do. And yeah, so then a week after, once you've selected the company, you will be asked to answer each question individually. So you don't have to provide much or long answers, just a couple of words. If you had to answer those questions on your own, what would be your answers? Like, for example, what do you think is the best market? You just put the name of the country. What do you think is the best way to advertise your product? You just put, like, let's say, for example, social media or TV or radio or newspapers. So just a couple of words, nothing major. As I said before, the reason we want you to do it individually first is because first we want you to kind of familiarize yourself with the questions. More importantly, we want you to kind of give it some thought so that tomorrow or a week from now, even if your team splits the workload in a way that you're responsible, let's say for marketing, or maybe for HR, or maybe for, I don't know, market entry mode, at least you have thought about the other questions as well, and you can make some comments or contributions to the discussion when the other team members start talking about those other questions. Again, we have tested it thoroughly, and we found that when people kind of do it individually first, then they're much more likely to engage in discussions with the team members about other questions, and then actually the quality of the work goes up. So here it's not something to grade you. So we will not evaluate your answers. We will not give you the grades for your individual answers. It is more a way to prompt you, to sort of push you to think about each question, so that even if you're assigned a specific section of the report, you still can participate in discussions of the rest of the questions. And yeah, and then from that point on, you just follow the schedule. Next week it will be block 1 answers, block 2, block 3 draft, and final report. And again, here when we ask you to submit the block 1 draft, again, it doesn't have to be final version. It can be just a few words. It can be whatever you have at that time. It will not be graded. We will read it and give you some feedback so that you can use it and develop and improve your work. But it will not be graded. So if you have only a few lines of text, that's not a problem. Again, the reason for those deadlines is to prompt teams to do something every week. When we did it for the first few years, there was only the final deadline. So we formed the teams and then basically tell the students, see you in 8 weeks when you have the final report. And as you can imagine, what happened was that many teams didn't do anything for 8 weeks. And then like 3 days before the deadline, finally like, okay, so what do we do? And obviously that's too late. So now we sort of want you to submit something every week so that you kind of gradually build up your, content, so that by the end of the project, you already have everything, without any rush, without any hectic, scheduling, trying to get it all done in the last day. But also because we want you to give feedback. So if you submit something every week, we will read it and we will give you some feedback. So this way you know better, if any improvements are needed, if any problems have been detected and things like that. Any questions about X-Culture? I have a few questions for you. So have you communicated with your teams?
Yes.
Do you have any team members who have not responded to you yet? Oh, that's strange. Normally there is at least 1 or 2 per team. And so if you happen to have someone who either hasn't responded or will disappear at some time, again, there are a few things you can and should do. One, obviously, try to contact those people and sort of, ask them to, tell them that you're waiting for their response. And more likely than not, they will respond. Sometimes people get sick. Sometimes people get busy, broke up with a boyfriend, girlfriend, on a trip, on vacation, state exams, all kinds of things, holidays in that country. So it's possible and even likely that some people will disappear for a while at some point. Second, if you do not hear from them for a few days, we will be doing the weekly peer evaluations starting, I think, next week, and or actually this week, I think. And so one of the questions there is, have you communicated with this person? And then, in general, how is this person doing? Contributing ideas, helping, with the project, is friendly and collegial. And so if there is any problem, don't try to be nice, tell how it is. I mean, if the person is doing well, obviously give him or her 5s. Tell that he or she is communicating. But if there is a problem, there is absolutely no advantage in hiding those truths. Some teams just give everyone 5s, just they think they will look better that way and they will improve their chances, I guess, of winning the competition. No, we don't take that into account. We need those peer evaluations so that if there is a problem, we know about it and can help you. And so several things will happen if you tell us that somebody on the team is not performing. For example, first week, if we hear that somebody's peer evaluations are below 2.0, and especially if it says that I have not been able to communicate with this person, and the whole team tells me that, then we send that person a warning. So we tell that person, the team is saying that you're not, communicating, you're not participating. Please reconnect with your team, explain your situation, and start working on the project. And then usually we also assign a coach to that team member. And so what happens, one of the coaches will contact that team member and say, is everything fine? Are you lost? Do you need help? Are you, I don't know, in some sort of trouble? And maybe I can help in some way. In most cases, so every week out of about 4,000 people, we would have maybe 40, 50 people who get a warning. And of those, by next week, probably 35 will be back on track and will do just fine. So they'll say, I'm sorry, I just had something going on at work, at home, in my school, I don't know. but there will be always like about 5 or 6 who do not improve their performance. And second week, we still have a low peer evaluation. What we do in that case, we just kick out the person from the team. So we exclude them from Xculture. And what we do is we place them on one-person teams. And the reason for that is because first, maybe it was an emergency, maybe they still want to participate. So we want to give them that chance. They will be not in a team. They will have to do it individually, but they can still submit something. They can still get a grade. They can still keep their professors happy. Second, if you lose a team member, you will be then a priority for a new team member. So if you ask then, we would like someone new, we often have team members from other countries where the semester starts late who become available a little bit later. Like, for example, we have a class from Germany that will be joining this week. We have a class from Pakistan who just joined. So they will be doing the readiness tests literally as we speak. And so we will have some of those people available at least for another week or two because they joined late. And so if you lose a team member and you feel you need more team members, we may be able to replace that bad one with a new one. No guarantee that the new one will be better, but obviously, statistically speaking, there is a good chance that you will have a better team member. So therefore, yeah, don't try to look nice. If there is a problem, tell us, and we'll do something about that. All right. Any other questions about Xculture? Okay, well, if anything else goes wrong or you have a question or you need help, just send me an email. The only thing that I will also add to that, you can ask for coaching. So if you send an email to coaching@xculture.org, a coach will be assigned to you. And so the easiest way or the most common way that people use them is they ask for feedback. Anything you write, anything you put on paper, you can literally send it to a coach and ask for feedback. When we provide the weekly feedback, usually it's more generic. It's like kind of the file starts with, we have read the submissions from the last week, and here are the common problems we saw. Here are some of the recommendations for those problems. Here are some interesting solutions we saw. So you might want to copy that. It's an interesting idea. So basically, it would be not for you personally, but for the whole cohort that works on the same company assignment. But if you want personal feedback, again, you can send an email to coaching@xculture.org and you can say, okay, here's my document. I have my initial ideas, for example, or block one draft. Could you please take a look and tell us what you think? And so in that case, a coach will be specifically assigned to your team and will provide feedback on that specific submission. Now, it's not necessarily the case that coaches are smarter than you are. They are a little older. They're usually MBA students or even already graduated, and they usually not only completed the project and did extremely well, but also received additional training. So they have to complete 4 weeks of training. So technically, they should be, kind of more knowledgeable in this area than you are. But even if they are not, they can still be helpful. So just the fact that somebody independent, somebody, kind of from a side, looks at your work, they may see some things there that you didn't notice. They may spot some errors that you didn't notice. They may be confused by some things and they will explain it to you or tell you that it's confusing. So to you, it may look perfectly clear, but for a kind of external reader, it may be confusing. So as I said, it doesn't cost you anything, but you get some free guidance and free feedback. So I encourage you to use that opportunity whenever you can. Second, if you have a difficult situation, maybe you have a conflict, maybe you have some tension in your team, maybe you cannot decide on some issues, maybe somebody is, I don't know, unethical or unfriendly or bossy or something else. You can always ask for a coach. And again, it's not necessarily that they sort of, know what needs to be done and will be able to resolve the conflict. It's just the fact that an external person gets involved, especially if it's a conflict, at the very least, they will collect some information. At the very least, if you have like a person on the team who is unethical, I don't know, unfriendly, whatever else, that person at least will kind of shape it up. Okay, well, they're watching, so I better be better, be nice. So again, something like that is not likely to happen, but if it does, remember that you have help. We had 2 conflicts in the early track this semester. We had one case when a student from Pakistan um, kind of expressed too much interest in a student from the United States. So he went on her Facebook page and liked literally every single photo. He sends her like 10 emails every day. So they're all nice. So there is nothing, disrespectful there. but she feels that it's a little too much, it's unprofessional, and so she did submit, a request for coaching. And so what we did is we reached out to that student and to both of them to get more information. And then so the student from Pakistan says, "Oh, I didn't realize. I really like her. I thought she would like my attention." And so we said, "Well, technically there is nothing, illegal about it, but it's a professional project, and the student is a little uncomfortable with your excessive attention." And says, "Oh, no problem. I didn't realize," and so everything is fine now. And then there is another team where we have some case of kind of a conflict. So, they sent us some screenshots of the communication they had with one of the students, and he's not nice. He's using, bad language, and he's overly confrontational. So we assigned two coaches to that case because it's a little more serious, and one professor. We have a professor in Florida, one of the kind of more senior people, has very rich experience as a manager in Fortune 500 companies, kind of went back to school to teach at his retirement. And so for serious cases like this, we assign him also as a kind of conflict resolution officer. And so in that case, so far, it looks like we'll have to remove that student from the team altogether because he's just disrespectful and not professional at all. So we're collecting the information. It's a developing story, but if it doesn't improve, we'll definitely take more drastic measures. So if you have, something like that in your team, hopefully not, but if it happens, again, remember that help is available. All right, so that's its culture. Anything else? Any comments about that? Okay, now the exam. This one is interesting. So for some reason, Moodle is not very friendly with me this semester. So it's my fourth time, I believe, that I'm teaching this course at this university. And in the past, it worked fine. So, I mean, I never liked Moodle as a platform, but at least I knew how to post materials on it. I knew how to access your records. I knew how to post an exam. And for some reason, this time, none of those options are there. I did a lot of research online just to see. I thought maybe the interface changed. It almost seems like I was added to the course as a student or as someone, like my role is limited. So for some reason, I cannot do most of the things that I should be able to do as an instructor. And so what I'm planning to do with the exam, and by the way, I did send a few requests for help with Moodle to your university, but for some reason, nobody replied. Again, I'm not sure if they're checking that email or something else is going on there, but it doesn't matter. So as you know, what I did with the course materials, I just embedded the links directly to the materials in the syllabus. So when you have to find the readings, you just click on that link. When you submit your homework, you just click on that link. And so this way, it's a system that I use at my school. I know how to use it. It works. It may even be more convenient. You don't have to log into Moodle each time. You don't have to, navigate through the menus. You just click on the link. You're done. So that's exactly what I'm planning to do for the exam. So the exam opens on Thursday, and you will have 4 days, I believe, to complete it. So what I'll do is I'll send out the links to each one of you personally via email tomorrow. And I think I'll set up the system so that it sends you the reminder every day unless you complete the test. So if you haven't completed it yet, it will send you a reminder next day saying you still haven't done the test. Here is your link. And then again and again and again. And so again, all you will have to do is just check your email, click on the link. And as long as you click on the link, this time it will actually not even ask for your name because the name will be embedded in your personal link. So this way it will know right away that it's you. It will display your name on the top of the page. And as before, you'll have 4 days to do, as with Moodle, you'll have 4 days to complete the test. And once you start the test, you'll have 90 minutes to complete it. And yep, that's basically all. And we'll use Qualtrics to power that. And I think that shouldn't be a problem. Now, remember that some of you Erasmus students have two email addresses. So I was given two email addresses, one your personal, like at Gmail or Hotmail, and the other one from the Vilnius University. I did ask you which one you prefer, and so that's the one I will use from now on. But I think I have one or two students who didn't tell me which one they prefer. So in that case, I guess I'll send the link to both email addresses. But otherwise, just check your email, click on the link whenever you're ready to take the test. Remember that if you start the test, you cannot stop, but otherwise it should be fine. So otherwise, you can take it anytime you want. I hope you will not cheat. All of you will see similar questions. I have a database of about 100 questions, and I think 40 of them will be randomly selected for each one of you. But obviously, most of you will see roughly the same questions. And at least in theory, and I'm not sure if I should give you hints, but you're smart, you probably would have figured that out anyway. At least in theory, you can cheat by sort of teaming up and, let's say, asking one or two students to take the test on their own, and everybody else will basically watch and take pictures of each exam question. Then as a class, you kind of sit down, find the answers, and then you use it to answer the exam. I guess, it's possible, and there is no way I can prevent that from happening, but I trust that you're honest students, and I trust that each one of you will take the test on your own and will not solicit help from friends. The good news is that the tests are open books, open notes. So that means that you can use book, you can use your notes, you can use the slides, you can use whatever you want during the test. So it will be not very easy to do because you have limited time and you have about 2 minutes per question. I think it's 2.5 minutes per question or something like 2 minutes. So it will have to be, pretty fast. And if you don't know the material, it probably will not be enough time to, look through the books each time you have to find the answer. But again, otherwise, it's probably going to be okay. So meaning that you should have enough time. If you don't know some of the answers, you should be able to look it up. As I said, just don't, go beyond that. And yeah, so all of the questions are from the video lectures. I did provide some suggested readings if you want to do those. If I were you, if I had to prepare for the test, what I would do is this. First, you have the study guide for the test, right? So you have kind of a list of topics that will be covered on the test. What I would do is obviously watch the video lectures on time. It will be too many video lectures if you want to do it one day before you take the test. I mean, our mind cannot go through, maybe more than 1 hour and a half at a time. Plus, I tend to speak kind of fast and in a monotonous way, so I probably will put you to sleep even before you finish one lecture. So don't plan on watching several lectures per day, just too much for one day. But as long as you watch them, once in a while, and you have watched all of them before the test, you probably will be more or less ready. And then before the exam, like literally right before the exam, I would download the slides and I posted them to you for you as well. And I would kind of read the slides. And as you noticed, I deliberately made the slides very wordy. So I deliberately put a lot of text on the slides. And so if I was trying to sell you something, I would have only pictures and only kind of nicely formatted, nice, slides. Here, I'm trying to use the slides more as class notes. So this way you can kind of review all the materials and understand what's in it, even, if you didn't watch the video lecture, for example, or forgot what in it. Because if I only put the outline and the pictures, it wouldn't be very useful. It would be nice during the lecture, but not very informative after the lecture. So this way, if you read the slides as they are, it's almost as if you have class notes and you read the class notes before the exam. And I would even think about printing them out because, as I said, it's open books, open notes. So if you have a question during the exam, if you do it on one computer, one screen, it will be very difficult to look through it, switching between the screens. So what you can do is you can have another computer, second computer nearby, or maybe have two monitors. And so here you're answering the questions. If you forget something, you do a quick search, you find the answer, and you give your answer. As I said, I deliberately made the exam kind of intensive, a lot of questions, little time. So if you are not familiar with the material, you probably will not be able to find the answers quickly enough. But if you have read the slides, if you watched the video lecture, if you just forgot something, you should be able to find what you need pretty quickly and do well on the exam. So, but yeah, that's basically all we need to do here. So any questions about the exam? Yes.
Yeah, what is if we get kicked out by the internet during the exam? Because like in the dormitory, we don't have proper internet and it's not really stable.
That's a very good question, and it does happen to at least one student every semester. So here is what I normally do, and I'm not sure if I should sort of kind of disclose all the moments because it also, well, all right, why not? So there are several things that I do. If you were able to answer more than 10 questions and then you got kicked out, usually I see those 10 questions. And in many cases, if it's kind of enough, like half of the exam or more, usually what I do is I don't ask you to retake the test. I just use the questions that you answered. and your grade will be the percentage of the correct answers to the questions that you attempted. And so the good thing is that the system shows me which ones and when you answered. So you cannot just select 5 questions that you really know the answers to and skip the rest, because I'll see that you skipped questions. So as long as I see that you were kind of going on the normal pace, answering questions one by one, and then something happened to the internet and you got kicked out. So as I said, if you answered enough questions, I probably will just use those questions and calculate your total as a percent of those questions that you attempted. If you were not able to answer enough questions, let's say you only did 5 questions and then you got kicked out, let me know. I guess I'll send you a new link and you'll just retake the test when you can. So it shouldn't happen. Very unlikely that it happens, but if it does happen, obviously I'll work with you and you will not be penalized for technical difficulties. So don't worry about it. All right. Anything else? Yes.
Is it open question or multiple choice?
Multiple choice, all multiple choice. So relatively easy. All questions will be multiple choice. You don't have to write anything. I normally would prefer you to write like an essay or short answers, but the problem is that I have like 70 of you in this class. I have a huge number of people at my own school, university, and then I have like 5,000 people in X-Culture. And so if it's, essay or open questions, I mean like, hundreds of pages of text, I just will not be able to read them carefully. And my experience is that if we want to test your knowledge, generally multiple choice questions, they're not the best and may not catch everything. But as long as you ask enough of them, you get a pretty good idea as to how well or poorly the student knows the material. Obviously, you have your homework assignments. That's where you can be a little bit more creative. And I'm looking at those and evaluating them as well. And then X-Culture, that's where you can go, very, very creative. So that's where, the quality of the answers matter. So for the exams, I try to keep it more kind of mechanical and simple just because it's more reliable and also more manageable. So, and also more defensible because, once you get into open-ended questions, it's never possible to say it's right or wrong because, it seems like you were on the right path, but, so whereas multiple choice, you either get it or not. And so one thing that I will say related to your question is that whatever grade you will see at the time you are done with the exam, it may not be your final grade. I have this one rule, sort of like an insurance. I did not finalize the grades until I see everybody's answer. And so if there will be a question on the exam that half of the class could not answer correctly, then I usually give full credit for that question to everyone as a way of kind of, insurance or compensation. So if half of you could not answer that question, I usually assume that there was something wrong with the question or that I did not teach you enough. So in any case, it's my problem. I either didn't, maybe the question is confused, is not clear, again, my mistake. Or as I said, if half of you could not answer the question, maybe I just didn't explain it well enough in the lectures. So what I do in that case, as I said, I give everyone full credit for that, just so this way you are not losing any points. You kind of get a little bonus for my mistake. And so what happens usually on most exams, usually there are no questions like that, but sometimes there may be one, and even sometimes there may be 2 questions that are problematic. And so what that means that if that happens, your grade may actually go a little bit up. So you didn't answer it correctly. You didn't get points for that. But then, as I said, once I see everybody's answers and once I have enough evidence to determine that there was a problem with the question or the problem with the way the material was presented, I would basically give you that point back. And so that means that you get on average, I think it's 2.5 points per question. You have 40 questions. And so if you 1 or even 2 questions were bad, you can see a little increase in your grade because of that. So if you don't do well on the exam, if you found some questions to be problematic, don't panic. So if you are the only one who had a problem with it, bad luck. So obviously, if more than half of the students could answer it, I have a defensible case that no, there was nothing wrong with the question. It was all good. You just didn't know the answer. But if more than half of the class like you had problems, yes, in that case, you have a case and I will do something about it. So I'll adjust the grade. So don't worry or don't panic if some of the questions look strange to you, because as I said, if you're not the only one, it will be corrected for. So no worries. All right. Yes.
So you said we're going to get a grade and we get the answers at the end?
No, you will not get the answers at the end for several reasons. One, I may want to use those questions sometime in the future. Second, if you take the test on day 1, and your classmates will be taking the questions on day 2 and 3. I don't want you to start selling the answers, and so no, you will not see the answers, but you will. I can program it so that it shows you your total grade, and so you will kind of have an indication as to how well or poorly you did right away. But as I said, it will not be your final grade. You will see the final grade towards the end of the basically once I have everybody's answers. So don't worry. On average, most students in your class get about 75, 80 on the exam. And on homework assignments, almost all of you, as long as you do it, you get full credit. Again, you have to, some people sometimes put so little or so poor content, I don't give them full credit. But most of the time, you get more or less full credit as long as you do a reasonably good work. So exams, as I said, 75, 80 on average. Ex-culture, um, usually the overall average is like 95. And again, the reason for that is some people, most of you will get 100 for ex-culture. Your peer evaluations will be good, your report will be good, you'll get full credit. But there are always several people in the class who don't do well. So several people in the class who just don't care, get low peer evaluations, may not even submit the report. And so the distribution will look like almost everybody gets 100, and then like 5 people get almost a 0. And so because of that, the average will be more like 90, 95. And so as a result, the overall total for the whole course will be probably about 80 plus or minus. So that's, what I've seen in the past semester. So we'll see how it looks this time. So I think in your class or at your university, I have to submit a 10-point grade. So that means that most of you will get 8, 9, some get 10, but there will be a few people who will get 7, 6, and there is always 1 or 2 who get like 1 or 2. They just like literally didn't do a single assignment, just disappeared. Very unlikely, but I usually have 1 student like that every semester, so that kind of pulls down the average. So, all right, anything else? Oh, a lot of questions. Yes, please.
According to the description of your course, the assignment, they said that the time limit is 90 minutes, but in the guide, the time limit is 75 minutes. So
oh, that's very good. Very good for paying attention. I need to check so whatever I put in the syllabus, I'll have to stick with that. But you're right, it can be 75. I'll take a look. I think I will set it at 90. Normally it's 75, you're right, at my class, but given that many of you are non-native speakers for English, I guess we'll just increase it to 90. So yeah, good eye. I'll probably just set it at 90. Sorry for the confusion. Yeah, let's set it at 90, so it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, let's put it at 90. One thing that I'm not sure if I will be able to do, so in Moodle, in Blackboard and Canvas that I use at my school, I can program it so that you see one question at a time. And once you answer the question, I can choose if you can go back or cannot go back. And in Qualtrics, I'll have to see if I have that option. But I definitely want you to be able to see only one question at a time, because if you see all 90 or whatever, 40 questions at the same time, as I said, it makes it too easy to copy and share with the class. But I think I will be able to set it in a way that you can go back and forth. So you can skip some questions, answer easy ones, and then go back. But I'll need to see if it would be possible to program. I don't mind it. My default setting normally is that you can go back if you skip a question. But I'll have to see if it will be technically possible. Once I know, I will send you, like in the rules at the beginning of the test, it will say if you can go back or not. So normally my preference is that you can go back and forth. So this way, if there's a difficult question, you don't have to get stuck on it. You can skip it, and then if you have time, go back to it at the end of the exam. So there were more questions I saw. Yes, please.
Is there only one correct answer to each question?
Yes. Yeah. I used to play with, like first best answer, second best answer, but it doesn't really work well with multiple choice. So usually, there is a correct answer and that's it. As I said, if it's confusing enough and people have different opinions and half of the class chooses A and half of the class chooses B, I'll definitely take a closer look and see, if it happens to be that, the answers are very similar, or maybe both of them can be true. Obviously, I'll do something about it. But in most cases, it's one answer that is correct, and it's visible right away. So you should be able to see that right away. All right? Yes.
Should we also study the suggested readings, or are the lecture videos enough?
Can you repeat that because the sound is like echo comes through?
Should we also study the suggested readings or are the lecture videos enough?
So should you also use the suggested readings, right?
Yes.
Um, yes and no. Technically, there will be nothing on the exam that has not been covered in the video lectures. And so as long as you watch the video lectures, you should be fully prepared. But then I know some people prefer to work with text. They may read faster, they may perceive the information better when they see it as opposed to hear it. I speak with an accent and I tend to speak very fast. And I think I put the music too loud this semester, and it's a little too late for me to change it. I'll definitely remove the music altogether for the next semester. But I know that my video lectures, they're not quite the same quality that you would see like a Discovery Channel, for example. So therefore, I know that not for everyone this format is the best one. And so for that reason, we do have the readings. And if you prefer, as I said, the textbook that we use, you have 5 copies at your library. I checked, so they have several copies. So if you prefer to read the lectures, the chapters, you can do that. And we found that other book that you might want to be able, to use, it's not exactly the same content, but it's like 95% same topics. I mean, same stuff. So if you prefer to read, obviously you want to read the book, and so that will prepare you. If you have time, I would do both. I would watch the video lectures and I would read the chapters. But if you only have limited time, do the video lectures and then read the slides. Again, everything that you need is on the slides as well. So as long as you watch the video lectures and kind of know what the slides look like, during the test or right before the test, you should be able to find any answer quickly by just flipping the pages. As long as you kind of know what it looks like and where things are, you should be able to find that stuff quickly. So if you have absolutely no time, like let's say you spaced out, didn't do anything, and it's like 2 hours before the final deadline for the test, and you must do it now, what I would do is I would quickly go through the slides and then take the test. If you have more time, I would watch the video lectures, and hopefully you already are doing that, but then maybe watch one more time, or kind of, since they're on YouTube, you can choose the speed and you can put it like ×1.5 or even 2 and quickly go through all of them one more time just to kind of refresh it in your memory. And again, the way I speak, it's already fast. If you put it ×2, it probably will be way too fast. Again, it's an option to kind of quickly refresh it. And then if you have even more time, obviously I would try to read, go to the library, get the book, read it, and then, that way you will be most prepared. But again, it's not a very difficult stuff. I mean, I used to teach statistics. So statistics is tough. Sometimes you read, chapter 5 times and you still don't understand how those formulas work. That stuff is really sometimes hard to comprehend. International business, what we do in this course, it's basics, it's introductory. As long as you watch a video lecture, I cannot imagine that you will not know the answers. It's relatively simple. It's a lot of stuff, so which means that you have to spend a lot of time to go through it. But it's simple enough that once you watch it once, I mean, like I cannot imagine that you would not know the answer to any of the exam questions. Maybe 1 or 2 questions are a little tricky and you need to think about it. But overall, as long as you kind of, thoughtfully watched the lectures, you should know the answers. Again, if you were, playing on the computer with one eye and watching the video lecture with the other eye, or maybe talking to friends and kind of listening to the stuff at the same time, yes, in that case, it may not be enough just to watch it, like half-heartedly. But if you seriously watched it and thought about it and, answered those sample questions, you definitely will be prepared. All right. Anything else? Yes.
You said that we can.
Can you repeat that? Yeah. Can you repeat that? My sound was muted. Yes.
Yeah, sure. You said that we can download your slides and read them before the exam, but where can I find the slides?
Let me show you. So if you go to the syllabus, so if you see my screen, I hope you see the screen now. So when you go to the syllabus, at the end here, and I'm not sure if I had it in the very first version of the syllabus that I posted. So if you downloaded your stuff, like literally, oh, sorry, that's not the right version. Yeah, that's the old version. So if you downloaded the slides on day 1 and never re-downloaded it, in that case, you may see the old version, and in that case, it may not be there. But that's the version that you have a link to. And so here, oops. Wait a second. Oh, sorry. That's the 2017 version. Okay, my mistake. I opened, so yeah, 2019. So that's the one. Okay, I got scared for a second. No, no. That was a slide from a couple of years ago. The one that when Moodle worked, so it was all on Moodle. Yeah. So for every lecture, you will see something like this. So for example, this is the topic that we covered. These are the questions for your homework assignment. This is your video lecture. This is the video lecture here. Oh, that's a short additional video lecture, but yeah, that's the actual video lecture. And then that's your homework, and that's your slides and readings. And when you click on this link, it takes you to the website, hopefully, yeah, right here. And you have all the things that you need. So you have the additional readings here. Just enlarge it here. So you have the slides, PowerPoint. You have the, you can open it right here, or you can download the whole thing. And so you can also, you have your readings here. And I think OR stands for optional readings. So that's something that if you want to, learn more, but the slides, that's your main thing. And then I think even in a couple of cases, I actually scanned a whole chapter of the textbook and put it there. So in case it's more difficult, you can actually read the textbook without going to the library. I didn't scan the whole book. Obviously, it would be copyright infringement, and so it would be a serious offense. But I think I'm allowed to copy up to 25%. So I copied some of the chapters and I posted them there in case you need them. I think for a couple of chapters, I needed to do that. But yeah, and it's the same thing for every lecture. Again, so video lecture, that's the bonus that we had that week. Then that's your homework assignment link, and that's your slides, and then so on and so on and so on and so on. And then for the exams, as I said, it will be a personalized link, so it will be one that has your name in it, sort of encoded. And so I will just email one to you personally. And that's the exam study guide. So for each exam, you have the study guide. Again, you click on the link. It should open it, and it will tell you some information here, like what to expect. Yes, it says 75 minutes here. We'll put 90. That's fine. We'll put 90 minutes, but it gives you a little bit information about the format and then the topics that will be covered. And then for each of the topics, you sort of have a list here. So you can look through that list. If after the video lecture, you probably will recognize most of these points and will feel comfortable about them. But if there is anything on the list where you're not sure, so that's where you might want to go back to the video lecture and slides and chapter if needed to better understand what's going on there. Yeah, but that's basically how you go about it. All right. Anything else? Okay, well, as I said, so it's not so bad. And as I said, if you have an internet problem during the exam or some of the questions don't make sense or you're lost, don't panic. As I said, my job is not to judge. My job is to make sure that you know. So therefore, if something goes wrong, as I said, I don't enjoy giving you penalties, and I don't see that as a productive way of, our time and energy. So I'll definitely try to work with you as long as, the situation is reasonable and it's a reasonable reason. So if you simply don't care and don't do anything for the whole semester and then come back at the end and say, oh, can we do something about it, it will be too late. But if you have a legitimate technical problem or something else goes wrong, honest mistake, we'll definitely work with you and make sure that it's it's all good in the end. Okay. All right, well then, yeah, anything else, just email me or Skype me directly, and yeah, let's see how it goes on the exam. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Yes, bye-bye.